The movie begins with Manji, a skilled samurai who is on the run for killing his corrupt superiors, including Maki's husband, who is his sister. However, Manji, who felt guilty for making his sister crazy as a result of her husband being killed, he then tried to take care of his sister to take responsibility for his actions. But one day, Maki was not at home, so Manji frantically searched for her in the middle of the forest. During his search, he met a mysterious old woman who was 600 years old. But Manji ignored her and just left. Until finally, Manji managed to find his sister, who had been taken hostage by a group of bounty hunters who wanted Manji's head. Unfortunately, after Manji was willing to throw his weapon, his sister was immediately killed in front of his eyes. The bounty hunters immediately attacked Manji simultaneously, leaving him severely injured, with one hand severed and one eye injured. However, his spirit did not flinch to face the group as revenge for killing his brother. One by one, they were all slaughtered, leaving only the leader of the group. They then came face to face to fight. With his remaining strength, Manji won the fight, and the Ronin leader was killed by his sword. After the fight, Manji staggered towards his sister's body. He apologizes for not protecting her and wishes he could die beside her. But then, the mysterious old woman she met earlier appeared in front of her. Manji then told the old woman to kill her. But the old woman took a small knife and cut her stomach slightly so that she could bleed. After that, she opened a small package and sprinkled holy blood worms into Manji's blood, which turned out to heal all the wounds on her body. Incredibly, Manji's severed hand was reattached, and his injured eye was miraculously restored. 50 years later, Ito Ryu, a group of master swordsmen led by a Natsu Kagehisa, is determined to conquer every single dojo, or martial arts academy, in the country. Refusal to Ito Ryu's offer would lead to the dojo members being slaughtered. Kagehisa easily defeats Master Asano in a quick duel and abducts his wife, but warns his men to not touch Asano's daughter, Rin, who is just a young girl. Rin is keen on learning sword fighting despite her family's dismay. Left alone in grief, Rin swears to avenge her parents. The Yabikuni appears before her at her father's grave and suggests she hire an immortal, skilled samurai as her bodyguard. She is determined and then goes a long way to find him. But Manji does not want to work for her at first. He does not want to murder people anymore. However, he pities Rin and agrees to escort her back home. Along the way, they encounter an Ito Ryu member, Kurwa Sabato, who tortured and took Rin's mother. He gives Rin some of her mother's hair, and even shows her decapitated head that he mounts on his shoulder. Rin is shocked as Sabato prepares to take her too. Manji shows up and defeats him. Sabato successfully strikes a fatal blow at Manji, but due to his abilities, Manji can heal himself, leaving Rin in awe. Manji agrees to train Rin and protects her until she can avenge her parents. Kagehisa talks with Habaki, a government representative, about an agreement to put Ito Ryu in the shogunate and make him the head of the new martial arts academy. He then receives news of Sabato's death and is confused as he knows Rin is not that skilled to take down one of his best assassins. Meanwhile, Rin is sharpening Manji's knives and daggers in the town market when she notices a man using her father's sword. That man is Taito Magatsu, sent by Kagehisa to deal with Kurwa's murderers. Manji learns of him from Rin and quickly heads to challenge Magatsu. Manji wins the fight, leaving Magatsu badly injured. After mistaking Rin for Maki, Rin finally learns that she reminds Manji of his deceased sister, although he refuses to talk further about it. The injured Magatsu receives treatment at the Ito-Ryu base and reports to Kajihisa that an immortal swordsman is hired as Rin's bodyguard. Rin and Manji travel to a village and they stop by for a meal. Manji is reading a map about every dojo conquered by the Ito-Ryu when another Ito-Ryu swordsman, Aiku Shizuma, posing as a monk, approaches him. He expresses that he would like Manji to join him, so they can defeat Kajihisa together. Manji denies the offer as his gut feeling tells him that something is not right. Enraged, Shizuma draws his sword. Then they fight ruthlessly. Turns out Shizuma is also immortal for a longer period than Manji. He poisons his sword to weaken the bloodworms and slows down Manji's self-healing abilities. However, Manji is determined to protect Rin despite his own wishes to end his immortality, so he defeats Shizuma. Later at the town market, Manji and Rin encounter Maki, another Ito-Ryu member. Although gaining the upper hand, Maki could not bring herself to murder Manji even though she has severed his limbs. She questions whether Ito-Ryu's motives are the right thing to do. Then she observes Rin standing up for Manji, although she is not as skilled as him. Maki decides not to end their lives and leaves. Although slowly, Manji can still recover. He scolds Rin for defending himself because she is not supposed to do that. He tells her to train alone as he has something to do that day, which is visiting Maki's grave. Rin wanders alone, then encounters Kajihisa. She is surprised to find that he does not attack her. He explains that he murdered her father to avenge his grandfather. Kajihisa's grandfather was banished from the dojo led by Rin's great-grandfather because he used an axe, which was considered an outsider weapon and not fit for their fighting style. Arriving back at Manji's crib, Rin does not tell him that he encountered Kajihisa and knew the truth about their ancestors. The next day, Rin and Manji encounter Magai Ryu, another swordsman clan, after seeing one of its members, Shira, defeating another Ito-Ryu member. Shira brings them to Magai Ryu's hideout, where they meet other members. They explain that they need to stay hidden so that the Ito-Ryu will not realize that they have two enemies, then offer Manji and Rin to join them to defeat Ito-Ryu together. Based on their spy disguising himself as an Ito-Ryu member, Kajihisa will visit Mount Takao. They form a plan to attack him along his way by dividing themselves into two groups that will take different routes. Manji, Rin, and Shira are grouped together. Along the way, they notice a mysterious figure resembling Kajihisa, so they prepare to attack him. Shira strikes a blow to his face, which turns out to be a woman hired by the Ito-Ryu. At the same time, other Ito-Ryu members appear from behind the trees, and they realize that they have been trapped. Manji and Shira fight the Ito-Ryu members until they are all defeated. After that, Shira attempts to harass the hired woman. Rin stands up for her, but Shira easily injures her. Luckily, before Shira tries to do anything with Rin, Manji cuts off one of his hands, causing him to escape. Manji realizes he cannot work with the Magai Ryu, especially Shira, due to their different principles. Back home, Manji treats Rin's wounds and tells her his full story. He was ordered by his superior to murder several men, which turned out to be the men who would have reported his superior's crimes. Believing that he worked for the wrong cause, Manji betrayed his superior and murdered him and his bodyguards instead. Turns out one of his bodyguards was Maki's husband. His death greatly affected her, sending her into madness. Then Manji took her under his care. He warns Rin that if she stands up to defend him again, he will quit working for her. Believing that she only caused Manji trouble, Rin runs away the next day, continuing her quest for revenge on her own while Manji is outside. He is approached by other members of the Magai Ryu, who ask him where Shira is. He explains he cannot continue working with them anymore. They explain that they must defeat Ito Ryu because they are facing death sentences from the government. After realizing Rin is gone, Manji frantically goes after her.
理由は何です？
Meanwhile, Kajihisa reaches Mount Takao and meets with Abane Kinsui, the head of Shinkito Ryu. Although he is warmly welcomed, he soon learns that they will not join Ito Ryu. Disappointed, he leaves, while his comrades back home celebrate his supposedly successful deal. Turns out Habaki has betrayed the Ito Ryu by sending government swordsmen to capture Kajihisa and the Ito Ryu clan. The entire Ito Ryu clan is annihilated at their base while Kajihisa, running from the army, encounters Rin and takes no interest in her as he is busy fighting government swordsmen. Rin has no choice but to follow him to ensure her own safety. Kajihisa and Rin reach an entire village full of an army led by Habaki. Rin screams at the army for not having an honor by attacking Kajihisa in an uneven fight and urges the battle to be a fair one-by-one sword fight. Habaki orders his men to silence Rin. Fortunately, Manji shows up and defeats her attackers. Although he is confused as to why Rin does not get his revenge on Kajihisa already and seems like she is protecting him instead. Rin tells him that his duty now is to defeat anyone who dares to attack her. A battle ensues between Manji, Rin, and Kajihisa against Habaki and his men. Manji manages to survive despite being badly injured and bleeding in many places while Kajihisa fights seamlessly. Sometime during the fight, Shira arrives and abducts Rin, avenging Manji for severing one of his limbs. Manji makes his way out of the battle to encounter Shira again. He tricks Shira by giving up all his swords and daggers, but he conceals a small dart that he uses to free Rin from Shira's ties. He then sends Shira to his death, falling from a cliff. Meanwhile, Maki also arrives at the battle scene and helps Kajihisa. She senses gunpowder and positions herself to block bullets from hitting Kajihisa, sacrificing herself. He continues fighting until there is only Habaki left. Although weakened and heavily bleeding, Kajihisa still manages to chop off Habaki's upper body. He then encounters Manji and Rin again, thanking them for keeping him alive against Habaki's men. Now Manji wants to continue fighting him properly, completing his quest to avenge Rin's parents. They fight ruthlessly, but in the end, Manji wins. He offers his last fatal blow to Rin so she can truly avenge his parents, but Rin hesitates, causing Kajihisa to counterattack her instead. Luckily, Manji positions himself in her way, taking the hit. Rin quickly stabs Kajihisa right through the chest. After Kajihisa's last breath, Rin cries for Manji, whom she thinks is dying. She cries that he does not fulfill his promise to die after her. Turns out, Manji is still alive despite his bad wounds and replies to her that she should call him Big Brother, just like Maki did.